intro.
We don't have one.
Never.
Never.
We do sit really far back from the microphone, though. We do that, though.
I don't have it.
You got to choke up on it.
Oh, sorry.
Otherwise, people won't be able to hear you.
You're always rocking out.
Not open this show.
Wow. You're always rocking out to music I can't hear. And I'm always wondering, what is he listening to? Because you're always having such a good time.
Now we know you don't listen to the show.
That's not true.
How could that not be true? You literally don't know what the music is.
Yeah.
I catch the end. I drop in the middle, like most podcasts. I flip over, see what's going on.
Stop.
Now, see if you did that. If it is live, if you did that live,
yeah,
it makes sense.
But
you can't.
No,
because you're on it. This live show.
Yes, I know.
So I like how that grinding sound. You know what it was. It's Rockin' Pneumonia and the Boogie Woogie Flu.
Oh, okay.
By Huey Piano Smith.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. I don't... Okay. I'll stop talking now.
We should get an intro. We don't have one, though.
You think? Yeah.
Other than to say it's COVideos.
Yes.
Which we're going to have to come up with a new name for, maybe, if we continue doing this, hopefully someday.
Yeah.
The radio show about movies that you can listen to with as many people as you want, as long as they're all in different houses in different parts of the world
there
online.
You go.
We talk about films that we've watched, both classic and modern, for your quarantainment.
Yes.
You're welcome, world, for that one. And we got two real special movies this week.
Yeah.
To talk about. I am excited to cover, and I think that we figured out that we're going to do yours first.
Yes.
By predetermined draw.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise, I'll just say, I'm alive. You're alive.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to cover in the political situation other than it's extant still, and there's people that need your donations and your help, like the Minnesota Freedom Fund. We Are Lake Street is an organization that supports Lake Street businesses. And I always tell people, the United Way. Give the United Way. Mm-hmm. The cool thing about the United Way is it's targeted. When you donate, you can enter a zip code.
That's pretty cool.
You know, and literally say, I want my money to go to that neighborhood, support that neighborhood. So in this case, that neighborhood is the zip code 55406 if you want to donate to communities and people who need help in that specific area. And there's going to be some.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I didn't realize that the United Way was that targeted. That's really neat.
Yeah. I mean, they're worldwide.
Yeah.
Well, they're nationwide. Look, I'm not the hype man for the United Way.
You're not?
Give it up for my man United Way. They really help people. Yeah, boy. So let's just move right on to your film, because I think we've got a lot to talk about on two different films, two different fronts.
Yeah. We do. My film is the movie The Lost Boys. What did I know about this film? I believe it is based on a book. I knew it was about teenagers in the 80s.
I don't know how old Jason Patrick really is. But
yeah, I know.
He's probably not a teenager.
Well, they play teenagers. And vampires. Lots and lots of vampires.
That's correct. It's not based on a book.
It's not based on a book?
No.
Why did I think it was based on the book? Do I get it mixed up with The Outsiders?
Maybe. Yeah.
Is
you know what The Outsiders could have used?
Vampires?
Stay alive forever, pony boy. Yeah.
Maybe that's what I did. Yeah, I thought it was based on a book. I don't know. Why? Can I ask you something before we get into it?
I'm going to tell you right now. Go for it.
Why are they called
Peter Pan?
The Lost? Because of Peter Pan?
Yeah.
Really?
And if you think that is a little bit shallow, I'll tell you what The Lost Boys is about. The Lost Boys is about a family that moves to Santa Clara, which is a town in Southern California, standing in for Santa Monica.
I was going to say, it's not
like
a real
that.
town, is it?
No.
Yeah.
But it's not like Santa Monica is a city, but this is just, it moves specifically to Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah,
All the weirdos. It's like if the town was just Santa Monica Pier.
Pretty much.
And then the weird old guys animal murder cabin out in the woods.
Yeah.
And a cool video store. And it's a family. It is Michael and help me Sam and Diane Wiest plays the mom, Lucy, which I might be a reference to Dracula. I don't really know.
Probably.
Well, maybe. And they are moving there. It's not really important because the movie doesn't care, so I don't care. But
it's very
she got divorced.
Karate Kid.
And, yeah, it's like the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
So, it's like, hey, we're from another part of the nation, but they're from Phoenix, so it's like nowhere cool. And
yeah, it's not like New York.
It's not like Danny LaRusso, yeah. And so they're trying to fit in, and of course Michael is a teenage horn dog, and his brother Sam is like a precocious, maybe 10, 11-year-old.
Yeah.
It's Corey Haim. I'll just say it's Corey Haim.
Yeah.
And now you know everything you need to know.
Right.
Corey Haim in a succession of really bad shirts. And they go down to explore the boardwalk one night and check things out, where we meet the epic sax man, which we'll talk about a little later.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And Michael sees a beautiful girl that he sort of chases a little bit. Sam goes to a comic book store where the other Corey Feldman, works, and his brother, guy never really did anything, so I don't really know his name, the Frog Brothers. And they're giving him there's some gatekeeping going on here. Some real gatekeeping.
Yeah.
They're like, you probably don't like comic books. And he's like, let me give you a rundown about where you should stock your Superman comics, filled with just enough things pulled from Superpedia or whatever they had back then to make me seem like I know about comic books.
Right.
But don't fake the funk. And then instead of giving him like Blade, which would be awesome, they give him a fake vampire comic book.
Yeah, right.
But that basically, that's where they got all their information about killing bloodsuckers, because this town's lousy with them. Yeah. You better pray you never have to call us.
Right.
He's like, well, I'll start praying. Michael runs into this girl, and he also runs into a gang of toughs.
Yeah.
In the 80s style, biker leather, lots of eye makeup.
Earrings.
The only two you'd recognize are Alex Winter, Bill from
Bill and Ted.
Bill S. Preston, Esquire.
Yeah.
Alex Winter, Alexander Winter, as he's credited in the film, and one Kiefer Sutherland in one of his, what's got to be one of his first movies.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of when Stand By Me came out. 86. I think this was actually before. Yeah, that was a year before, because 87 was Lost Boys, but it's late 80s, early 90s, good era for Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
And he says Michael about 400 times in the movie. But it's basically like, let's have a series of dares. And so they all ride bikes. And so they lure Michael out to the coast where there's an old hotel. Am I doing too much here?
Maybe you're doing too much.
Well, I'll try to wrap it up.
Yeah.
There's an old hotel where, I'll show you a trick I learned. So there's an old hotel that used to service people around the turn of the century, the Time After Time sort of Christopher Reeve era. But there was an earthquake, and it fell down, and now these guys use it. And they're mean, and there's a lot of like teasing and a lot of hazing going on.
Yeah.
And at one point they're like, "Hey, drink this. You gotta drink this, Michael." And he drinks it, and things start going weird. He's floating out of his house, and he's starting to disappear out of mirrors. And Sam realizes you're a filthy blood-sucking vampire.
Yeah, right.
So cue the hilarity. They have to try to keep it secret while also protect themselves from the more aggressive boys in town.
Yes.
And I'll cut it off there. I didn't actually do the trick. I watched this. There's this guy that's been doing like recaps of like 80s action movies on YouTube for almost 10 years, maybe more.
Okay.
And he just does a plot summary, but he always stops right before the third act.
Oh.
So he's like, RoboCop then finds out that Dick Jones is behind this, but he goes to arrest him, but he can't, and he's attacked by Ed 209, and he's saved by Lewis. So when they made RoboCop, so they're like, wait a minute, tell me another story, Papa. But it's like good. It's like he doesn't have to tell you the whole thing. So that's only about halfway through, but we'll talk about the structure of this film, I guess, as we get into it.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just being told that the curfew is just about to begin in about a half an hour. Minneapolis.
It makes me jump out of my skin every time I hear it. So,
if you don't turn it off, how come you don't get it?
I got it.
No.
For whatever reason, it didn't buzz on my phone. I don't know why that is.
I want that. What'd you think?
Well, it's a... Okay. I'm going to say, overall, I liked it. But as far as, like, 80s movies that...
About kids that fight monsters?
Well, that. But,
like Monster Squad, which came out the same year?
Right.
Or,
you got something else that you're thinking of.
It's not the Goonies. Oh, Fright Night. Like Fright Night? Fright Night came out in 85.
I haven't seen Fright Night.
It's literally the same thing. It's like two boys who are like comic books, and they're like, I think our neighbor's a vampire. And then they have to go find a guy who, like, you know, Roddy McDowell knows how to kill vampires or whatever.
Is Fright Night good?
Maybe he's, it's about like this.
Okay.
It's okay. It's, yeah, it's good. It's good.
Should I put it on my list? That's what I'm asking.
The list is life. It'll take your entire life to watch all the films.
Yeah.
If you put every movie on there.
I know, but I'm
asking
if I should watch it.
Plus, if you watch it, then you're cursed. A mummy hand comes out of the case.
Oh, is that right?
And curses you to watch the Fright Night remake.
Uh-oh.
With Colin Farrell as the vampire, Anton Yelchin as the main character.
Oh boy.
I don't remember who the love interest is. Somebody cute. Maybe Imogen Poots. I don't know. And then David Tennant is the Roddy McDowell character.
Wait, didn't I see that?
Oh, maybe.
I think I saw that.
It's okay. So it's not good.
Did I see that?
Never mind. It's not good. You got your answer. More about Lost Boys?
So, okay.
80s movies.
80s movies. I mean, it's not like... So there are a lot of 80s movies that are, I think, fall into the cult classic category. And I think this is one of them. And it's one that I've heard about for a really long time. But I don't think it's as good as a lot of other cult classic 80s films are.
Like Monster Squad.
Yeah. It's got elements in it that are good. Like, I like that there are comic books in it, but then they don't... I mean, I guess they kind of continue to use the tactics that they learn in the comic books, but it doesn't... It's kind of basically just like...
It falls apart pretty
This
fast.
is a tool that you learn from, and then we don't really refer to it ever again. So, I would have liked if that was in it more. So... I don't know. Like they go to live with their grandpa, and their grandpa lives kind of out in the sticks, and he is
No. Now you're just doing a plot summary.
Now I'm doing a plot. I was just gonna say he does taxidermy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they act like from the movie, it seems like they've never been there before. From the reactions,
This is the kind of thing that she gets stuck on, people.
Well,
This is it. What about this series of suggests, reveals, fake reveals, re-reveals? The structure, both movies we talk about tonight, I have structure notes.
Yeah.
Because they set Grandpa up as weird, and at first you're like, I know this movie's about vampires. Do I need to worry about Grandpa? And then later you're like, all right, I guess we've just settled into the kooky old man thing.
Yeah.
Then when he saves everybody at the end, and he's like, these damn vampires, like, that was it? That dog ain't very shaggy.
No.
The whole movie was just a long bit about how Grandpa's new the whole time, and he's a real kook.
Yeah.
That was it?
That was apparently it.
Okay.
I don't know why that was it.
This movie not only starts over water, you know my rule, movies that open over water, it keeps going back to water. I know they got
in the moonlight.
I know they got the carnival on the Santa Monica Pier shot.
Yeah.
But they do it. We paid for the helicopter. We're going to use it.
Yeah.
And at 98 minutes, they're like, stuff more padding in there. So they've got that, like, whenever Michael is sleeping late at night or whatever, and he's struggling with transforming into a vampire, there's a lot of, like, sort of swoops over the ocean, sort of panning up on cliffs and stuff like that. So it keeps going back to the water.
Yeah.
And when a movie opens with People Are Strange, and it's not The Doors,
right?
It's Echo and the Bunnymen for some reason. And I don't remember that. I remember seeing this in the theater and thinking, oh, it's The Doors. They have a poster of Jim Morrison
you're right.
in the Batcave.
Yeah.
And Jason Patrick is, he probably read for that Oliver Stone movie. You know what I mean? But then they go out and get Echo and the Bunnymen? What?
I don't know what's going on.
So it's like, I think there's a lot of funk being faked here.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that it's not charming.
Mm-hmm.
But for, having the two of the vampires are zeros. Alex Winter, I guess we didn't know what we could get from him, but he has a ton of charisma in the film. We could have done something.
Well,
and he's
they
the first one
don't
that gets
give
killed.
him anything to do.
No. And
Kiefer Sutherland has all the lines, and don't get me wrong, Kiefer Sutherland is chewing up the scenery in this, and like he's
chewing the scenery and maggots. I love that.
Yeah,
I love
and
the maggots.
he is clearly having a great time
because he's clearly a shitty vampire because they get this kid in here, right? And the ultimate thing is we want him to drink blood
because we want him to
and
be one
maybe
of
there's
us.
some kind of thing like you have to tell me if you're a cop thing, like they can't lie to him. They have to tell him it's blood. He has to accept. Like, even if he doesn't understand...
Not established.
Even if he doesn't understand the stakes, so to speak, he has to know what it is. So they do it in threes, right? They give him maggots, worms, and then they go, that's blood. And he's like, okay, you and your tricks. I'll just drink this coppery tasting liquid. Fine.
I know, right?
But when they first get him in, he's eating the rice, and he's like, how are those maggots, Michael? Michael, you're eating maggots. Michael, look. Hey, Michael's eating maggots, everybody, look. It's like he gets the misdirect wrong, and he's just like trying to do his big reveal, and this guy's just like housing a box of rice.
I know, right?
Hey, look, maggots, look, it's maggots. So anyway.
But I want to know, I mean, it's a good bit, like, turning the rice into maggots. And I know in order for it to work, it has to be white rice. But who eats a carton of white rice by itself?
He's just hungry.
I guess.
He does. They also have to sell it, right? Because he's like, 1 billion Chinese can't be wrong.
Right.
Right,
I know. It's like, what are you doing?
Just a sidebar.
Yeah.
What percentage gay is this film, do you think?
Do I have to say?
I mean, it's a Joel Schumacher movie. Uh-huh. All Joel Schumacher movies exist on a spectrum. Mm-hmm. There are from a what's the Vietnam movie that he made?
Oh God, I
can't remember. Let's say that's a 1 with Batman and Robin at 10. Where do we fall on the spectrum?
It's pretty high on Batman and Robin, I think.
Or like, I guess I haven't seen. Is Elephant the one about Columbine?
I guess I haven't seen that one.
Wow. You know, if you pop the back of a raft, it makes it go faster.
We know that
comedically.
Yeah.
It's just there's just not. Give me more. It's like Friday the 13th 2, right? Part 2. No, sorry. I mean, I'm sure there's some gay stuff in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
It's text. It's not even subtext. And in this, you just have 2 brothers playing grab ass, and then at one point it's like, now you get right up behind him, and then Corey kind of nuzzle into his neck, and like, what are you doing? What?
Yeah, right.
No, put it all on the Michael and Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, they're trying to impale each other at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, see, this is.
I see what you're doing. I do.
You're like silly putty.
Me?
The slow blade will penetrate.
Okay.
Things will bounce off you, but
Wow.
if we
All
just
right.
let them sink in.
Okay.
But this is your movie. Go ahead. The real love story is the Coreys. But anyway, go ahead.
I agree. Wow. So I just have questions. So, like, clearly, like, so there's so many people missing, and it's the murder capital of the world.
Oh, we did all that gay stuff, and I didn't mention the Rob Lowe poster. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So then, like, so clearly...
Yeah, it's not the murder capital of the world.
Yeah, I know. But clearly
I stayed in a hotel, which is worse, motel. A motel on the interstate in the murder capital of America when I was 17. Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
A story for another time.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was going to say.
Santa Clara, murder capital of the world.
Oh, so it's the murder capital of the world. Is it the murder capital of the world because the vampires keep killing everybody?
Yeah, but it's a big resort and everybody loves to go there.
Yeah, I know, right? So they're clearly killing these people. What do they do with their bodies?
They kill. Well, that's a good question. They kill a fat security guard.
Yes.
Then they kill
a couple that
girl
scorned
that
them.
Loves sad sack comics. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know, right?
She cannot get enough sad sack. And her boyfriend, who's got in a fight with them or something like that. The vampires.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all we really see.
Yeah. And then we get a fake out. We don't know until later that it's a fake out that they're attacking Max. Like, why would they? If he's the head vampire.
So the frame story is the problem. I think there should be, or not a frame story. Sorry, I'm giving away my thing for this second movie. The fake out, or it's not a fake out. It is a fake out.
It is a fake out. Yes.
It's just not necessary. You literally don't even think or care about that character until they keep drawing attention back to him.
Right.
And when you've got like more than a half an hour left in the movie, and he's like, "Are you going to invite me in?" I know this is 1987, but we've all seen vampire movies.
Yes.
So we're just waiting for the shoe to drop, and it doesn't. Their suspicion of him doesn't lead to anything all that great. No. And then he just goes away, and we kind of forget about him because we've got to deal with other stuff.
Yeah, and then
Michael's got to get laid.
Right.
And then he comes back for like a third date, at the end, for the reveal. And if we just left it open the entire time, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah.
When she goes to his house, and it looked like he was being attacked, but he's not fine because he goes on a date with her later, and the dog goes crazy on her. It's not a reveal. We're just waiting for it to happen.
Well, but what I want to know is if he's the Hound of Hell, as they're suggesting, because Sam's reading this comic, and Hounds of Hell guard vampires, what have you, whatever.
Right. Why do we have another dog that hates him?
Well, yeah, and then like, why does his dog growl at the quote unquote lost boys when they come into the store? And I mean, clearly he doesn't want to be associated with them, but why does the dog growl at them? Because
he's told the dog, which is semi-intelligent and doesn't come back for like a cool fight at the end,
right?
With the real dog, with Nanook. It's just sloppy. The script's just sloppy. That's what it is. It's just sloppy.
I know. And then I think I was talking to you before, like their rules about vampires. Like I know every.
Oh, they kill a bunch of punks too. I forgot.
Yeah.
But they're listening to Aerosmith. No punks like Aerosmith.
Wow. Fake punks. So it was totally okay for them to kill them, because they were fake. But their rules about vampires, I don't. So Garlic doesn't work. Fine. He has to be invited in. Max has to be invited in, but the other vampires just come into the house. When he's there for the dinner, and they do the fake out, you can see his reflection for some reason.
When you're invited in, you nothing works on you. You just appear as a normal human, I guess.
So that's
but you don't have to be invited in because you can explode out of a fireplace if you so choose.
Oh my god!
But then you will be susceptible to all the normal vampire weaknesses.
Okay, that's fine, but I feel like they didn't really make that distinction very clear.
I also like that their teeth are not. Their teeth are not canines; they're vampire teeth. Mm-hmm. They're second set of incisors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
But maybe I don't see how big they were. Maybe they cover the canines then too, because that would look really weird. Or maybe
I don't
not.
remember.
I don't know. Anyway,
honestly.
that's not where your canines are.
Right.
Your canines in a healthy, normal mouth are three out from the center.
I did like how they kind of made a slight distinction in looks between Michael, who was not yet a full-fledged vampire, and then the full-fledged vampires. Like, he looks kind of sickly and pale, but his face isn't quite the monstrous form yet.
Yeah, and there isn't any... Yeah, and he fights... I don't know. He fights Kiefer Sutherland, and there is no... Sam doesn't help him. He doesn't use some bit of knowledge that he got. Like, he just fights a full vampire and beats him.
Sam does, yes.
And he only wins because he's got plot armor. Like, he's the main character. Like, if you're going to introduce this, well, to be fair, Monster Squad kind of element where it's like they know all about the creatures because they've researched them. And how do you kill a werewolf? You know, can you shoot him in the balls with a silver bullet or whatever? Yeah, it just sort of, we got to end this thing. So
I did like the bit where they go to the church and they take their canteens and they just fill it up with holy water.
There's like a wedding or something going on.
Or it was like a baptism. Yeah. So that was a good bit. But yeah, I mean, I think that they could have used the lore a little bit more. I think that they could have, I don't know, like made the story more interesting.
Gone longer. I mean, I don't usually want more length, but it's 98 minutes. I mean, it's either use it, so exactingly as far as its structure.
Yeah.
But they screw around for so long in the first half, and then they just have to blow through all the set pieces in the second half.
And then so the girl Star, who Michael likes, Star, is like Michael, where she's like a vampire, but she hasn't killed anybody yet. So, and apparently you're not as much of a vampire if you haven't, killed somebody yet. But like, why did they do that to her? Because David likes her, like Kiefer Sutherland, or what? And then they have the little kid, the little boy,
Michael. What if it was? I was thinking about Job.
Oh wow.
Vampires, Michael.
Why do they have the little kid with them?
Stakes. Again, literally stakes.
Yeah. But if their whole plan, what is their plan?
The whole thing is unrealized.
Well,
and the parts that I like the most aren't, I mean, I guess I liked when the guy blew up in the bathtub and then all those faucets exploded and everything like that.
And then he, the skeleton, sits up. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was all right.
Yeah.
But the parts that I liked were somebody had some thought about this world, but then we had to go off and do something else. And so there's a great the separation between, the brothers and their sort of interests,
Mm-hmm.
I thought was, even though they're supposed to not be that far apart, I thought it was interesting. I thought that the class structure of children was interesting, which is there's a caste system and a class system in kid interactions that is now explored all over in Mean Girls and and what have you. But just seeing that I thought was cool, but not enough of it. And I also liked just the difference in division in age and stakes. I did it 3 times in scenes like when Star comes to visit Michael and tell him to get away or something. I don't know why she's there, but anyway, this is after they've done it. And
right.
So they're in his.
She's
they're
telling
in his
him
brother's.
he can kill the head vampire, and then
They're in her brother's room, and the brother's just freaked out, and he's assimilating all this information about vampires, but they're having this conversation from another movie where it's you shouldn't have come back, and it's
right.
I don't know how to do this without you, and he's like, kill this bitch.
Yeah, right.
That was good.
Yes.
But, everybody's done every way to kill a vampire. Even at this point, they've done a lot. Although, back to the gang stuff, their blood is glitter.
Why?
I don't know why.
It's glitter?
They beat Twilight. Yeah, they kill Alex Winter, and they get slooshed with liquid.
Yeah.
Then they run outside, and it's glittery.
Glistening?
They clearly put stripper glitter in the liquid.
In the goo?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
There's a good point too where they, I like them too because they're the experts, but of course, they're experts in their own mind.
They've never actually killed a vampire before. Right.
So they get out there with other gear and stuff, and then they're like, "All right, let's get ready." And then they're supposed to check each other's gear, but they both turn around at the same time.
That was a good moment.
And then one's like, "Whoa!" And he turns around and checks him. That was pretty good. But this movie needed more subtle stuff like that.
Well, it did, but I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe they don't know how many vampires there are, but I feel that the brothers could have talked with Michael and said who do you think the leader is? Because they have no idea. And then also they have wooden stakes that they've made, but they only bring 2. There's just a lot of things like that don't make sense. But then also going back to what do the boys want? What do they want?
The
what
Frog
are they?
Brothers?
No, the Lost Boys. What are they after?
Never grow old, never die.
Yeah, but are you just
Which is
killing whoever?
Cocoon?
Yeah, aren't you just killing whoever you want? And then do you want to create an army of vampires? Because it doesn't seem like that's
They're
what you want.
disaffected, and you don't want somebody, Kiefer Sutherland to show a moment of humanity and give a speech about how, like, I've been to every punk show that came through this town, and I realized one day that none of it mattered,
Right.
He went real punk. He went into goth, emo, and then I met Al, or whatever the head vampire's name is.
Max.
You're good at names. That used to be
I?
my power. You're going to have to carry the load for me now. We don't get that, and it's fine because this is just popcorn. This is just fun.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm saying that.
Yeah, and it is fun. I do enjoy it. I just wish there were more, like you said, stakes.
Me too. We got to keep it under an hour. Moving on.
All right.
Well, from one guy with a tenuous relationship with death who wants to make people drink blood to another guy, same thing. We're talking about The Last Temptation of Christ was my film, and it was came out in 88, I believe.
I think so.
I don't know why I don't just know.
I don't know.
I lived through that. And we will talk about that after you give us a recap.
Oh, I'll do my best.
You can just go.
It's just under 3 hours.
It's the Gospels. Look it up.
Right. Except it's not I don't know. It's kind of it's not exactly based on the Bible. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Where does it depart?
I don't know.
Bluff called.
But anyways, so it is the story of Jesus Christ, and he when we meet him in the beginning, he's a very tortured soul, and he doesn't really have direction in his life, and he doesn't really know what he should do. He kind of goes on a quest to find this, and supposedly God speaks to him and tells him that he needs to, talk to other people, and he doesn't exactly tell him spread love, but that's more or less what
like Take 6.
Yeah, right. But like talk to other people, and and you basically like. He says when he's talking to Judas later, like, I'll talk to people and I'll just know what to say before I say it. So
right.
So
yada,
that's
yada.
what happens, and people start to follow him. Also, Mary Magdalene is there, and
the rest. There's James and John,
right,
and the rest,
right. I mean,
not fitting them into a song.
Lots of other things happen. I don't know. He meets John the Baptist. He gets baptized. He gets more followers and everything. And then he tells Judas one day that he's gotten more word from God that he needs to be crucified and he needs to die. Yada. And then after 3 days, he'll come back. And
he meets David Bowie.
Yes.
And
then he gets crucified. And then there's
new movie.
There's a new movie. And then it ends.
Yeah. I'd never seen this before. It's directed, of course, by Martin Scorsese, so I would have hit it eventually on my Scorsese full watch, because there's some Scorsese ones I haven't seen.
Yeah.
There's so many movies to see.
Yeah.
And that... what does Scorsese bring to this? Do you know what I mean? Apparently he had wanted to do a picture about the life of Christ for a while.
Okay.
And it was on and off. And I think nobody wanted a Jesus picture in the 70s.
Okay.
And so it was kind of off, and he did like Mean Streets, but I think Barbara Hershey gave him the book that this was based on.
Oh, okay.
When they were doing like Boxcar Bertha or something like that. And he was like, "We're going to do that one. We'll do that.
Yeah, okay.
We'll go to Morocco.
Yeah,
the
right.
whole thing out there." I don't know if this is a cocaine era or not. And I'd never seen it because this was the worst thing ever.
Uh-oh.
And you asked me earlier today when we were thinking about going out to the protests if I'd ever been to a protest before, and I was rifling through my life and the various protests I had done, and there was one that I was invited to and ultimately didn't go, and it was protesting the opening of this film.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Because it's evil.
Why is it evil?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I think for a long time I never watched it because I thought, I don't want to have to wrestle with that.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of the best, like, what do you call it? Advent? No, that's when Jesus is going to be born. The Life of Jesus.
Yeah,
it's one of the best Life of Jesus films I've ever seen.
Sure.
And qualifier, it focuses almost fully on the humanity of Jesus.
Yes.
And not the God boy who, can just zap all his problems away. It really focuses on the idea of a guy, struggling with this calling, and even like you said, trying to find the calling.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things in it that there's a lot of it that is condensed. There's a lot of it that is, right out of the Gospels, but it's sort of shoved together. Like he didn't save Mary Magdalene from being stoned, then walk up onto a mount and give the Beatitudes and go, "Who's got some fish and loaves? Want to see a magic trick?" Like he didn't, but we got to condense all of this. But there's other stuff that is their own creation, and there's other stuff that I think is so specific it must be pulled from like the Apocrypha or something like that.
Okay,
like Jesus seeing two snakes.
Well,
that's not in the Bible.
No,
or like Jesus
connected?
Seeing a guy who's like, "Hey, come on in here," and he's like, Thanks. I'll pay in the morning or whatever. This is a weird Holiday Inn. This guy's dead. And he's like, that guy welcomed me in last night. It's like, right. Oh, no, he died days ago. It's like,
right. Right.
Goosebumps. Like, what?
I know. Well, the snakes thing...
Oh, snakes come back in a big way.
Yeah, but I thought that we saw that... And the snakes talk to him, too. That's probably a big part of it. But we see the two snakes on the door that leads to the entrance to where Mary Magdalene?
Magdalene. Or Magdalene, whatever.
Okay. Magdalene. It is.
Yes.
So is that why he sees the snakes? Because it's supposed to represent her somehow?
Here's the thing, and this is the movie doesn't have time or the inclination to go into this, or it doesn't really matter, but I think this movie's a mess, and it's way too long, and I think
it's almost 3 hours.
I think they could have either well, I mean, I think it's probably long enough, but as long as we're going somewhere, because there's the opening part, which, again, Jesus, let me eliminate any doubt from your mind. When you're 3 years old and your mommy tells you that God put you in her belly, I think you're set on a path, right?
Right.
But the Jesus that we find is a normal guy.
Yes.
And he's a coward. He can't fight against the Roman occupation.
Right.
And one of his best friends, like Judas, who gets no lines in the Bible for the most part. This is a totally expanded Judas.
Uh-huh.
But they equate him with like Judas Maccabees and like the Jewish revolt. So he becomes like, the guy who's like fighting these people. Mm-hmm. And he smacks Jesus around because Jesus doesn't have the courage to fight. And Jesus makes crosses. Now that, Paul Schrader, is a real plant and payoff. That's a screenwriter thing that you did.
Right.
Schrader and like Scorsese back together. You kind of expect someday a real rain's going to come and wash the Romans out of these streets. Like, what's it going to be?
I know.
There is VO.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yes.
And all the acting is a combination of like almost kind of like I'm not really an actor acting and like almost Lanthimosian flat effect. Did nobody feel that they could just act?
Emote? Maybe not. This is serious.
But it's like Easter cantata acting. Which is fitting, I guess.
Yeah.
So a lot of those, things are creations. They're not really, what the Gospels say, but whatever. You're telling a story. It's a movie. So once he starts getting in, and we're starting to see like Scorsese as a very talented filmmaker's take on the story of the Gospels, I was totally wrapped up into it. I was, like when he raises Lazarus from the dead, I thought that was so cool because he like a hand comes out of the tomb and he grabs the hand and the hand pulls him in, and you get this feeling of like he's wrestling with death almost, you know,
Yeah.
and he's like, and of course it's an aperture, so he's, you know, sort of birthing him, rebirthing him
Right.
again to life. And then he's killed by Saul of Tarsus, which is not in the Bible. So there's just a lot of, you know, there's a lot of liberties taken with the story. Because
Do
when
you
you think
think
about it, the
that's-
Bible is the original canon. It's literally
Right.
where the word canon comes from. So I think that's why when religious people see stories about religious subjects, they're
Right.
like, Spider-Man didn't actually do that in issue 237. You know, it's like they're the original comic book nerds. That's the pull quote I want. Religious people are the original comic book nerds. Just put that on the poster. But so when we get into that, and then there's, you know, they emphasize heavily the idea that he was a political leader as much as a religious leader.
Yes.
And they use John the Baptist to catalyze that because he tells him, you know, there's the axe or there's your heart that you talk about. And Jesus is like, give me that axe. And so that's supposed to, I think, make you understand, because Jesus is, remember, there's 4 stories about him, and they're all a little different. So Jesus is all over the map in terms of his character in the Gospels, but I think that's supposed to sell to an audience how people could get so excited about this. You know, they've had messiahs have come and gone. There was a couple just the year before, you know, and there's going to be more later. But how they could get excited about this one specifically, and then his antagonism towards the money changers in the temple and the hypocrites in the temple and all that, and focusing on the temple. He's like, we're going to burn this mother down.
Right.
It's like, it wasn't really in the Bible, but when he lets go of that, then you get Judas, the Judas that you've created, has to go, what's the deal? We were like 2 steps away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But now Jesus is like, no, actually the heart is more important than the axe. So I'm going to ask you to betray me. And Jesus becomes the author of his own betrayal and story. And,
which is interesting.
And religious people will get real mad about that. But in terms of story structure, that's really great.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes the Judas kiss like so much worse.
Yeah.
And then David
It
Bowie shows up.
absolutely does. So what was that?
Then David Bowie shows up.
Yeah, and then David Bowie shows up.
You're trying to make changes. Changes. So, yeah, I really like that it focuses on the humanity of him, and I think that Jesus does a great job. This is how good he does. Willem Dafoe does a great job
As Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't remember. I think he was nominated, but he didn't win. Harvey Keitel was nominated for a Razzie, I think, or like a, you know,
Really?
a whatever, a bad acting award for his acting.
For this?
I didn't feel it so much.
No.
In fact, the biggest problem I had was they jammed Saul in there for some reason. And then when we go to the alternate universe, Jesus, you got to go back in time.
Yeah, right.
Later on, and he runs into Saul, he's doing the thing. He's like from Kentucky, right? Like he's the son of like a literal,
I have no
like
idea.
tobacco farmer, like a sharecropper. But he's doing 2 things. He's doing. There's a lot of like evangelical preacher in everybody's speeches. Willem Dafoe, and definitely him at the end. But he's also doing, and we're Jewish, right? We're supposed to be Jewish, you know. So he's like, I was blinded, he opened my eyes, and I was baptized. A little mush and a schwitz.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah, right.
Scorsese just got a bunch of really talented people together and went, yeah, just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. And then we got that, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
That's like Assassin's Creed Judas.
I know, right?
Ooh, didn't I think I've said this before. Do it, cowards.
Wow.
Assassin's Creed Jerusalem. Now, you already did the Crusades, but take it back another 800 years.
Sure.
Assassin's Creed Jerusalem.
Why not?
And then you find out that, you know, you can do the Dan Brown thing and Jesus really had a son or something. Or Jesus imparted the power to the orb. So all assassins who are traveling through time have Jesus power.
He started it.
He was the first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. There you go.
Say something. Say something. Because I'm really interested in your reaction to this because, you know.
Well, like,
You're
so, okay. I don't know.
Say the
a lot
whole
of
word.
Things. Wow. I'm Jewish. I don't know. A lot of things. 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 A lot so his mother, like, he goes back to Nazareth at one point, and his mother calls out to him and is like, come home, blah, blah, blah. And then he, I don't know, to be more like the Son of God or something, but, like, he acts like he doesn't know her and kind of gives her...
In the Bible, his brothers were there, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that happens in the... Okay.
Yeah. He's, where's my mother? Where are my brothers? You know, I'm doing this.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I mean, you can still talk about it.
Well, I just thought it was like she follows him still. Well, but it seems like she turns away, but then she's there later. So I don't know.
Yeah. And her name was?
Mary.
And his friend Magdalene's name was?
Mary.
Why did you say that name?
And the other lady's name was Mary.
And there's
and
a
her
Martha.
sister was named
But there's
Martha.
another Martha. Yeah. Yeah. I think Zack Snyder was just watching Scorsese because he loves him.
Wow.
And he's watching Last Temptation. He's like, his friend's name is Mary. And his mom's name is Mary. I want another beer. 10 minutes later. Whoa!
Oh my God!
Gets his
yeah,
Batman comic
I
out.
know, right?
Oh my God! We've cracked it. What do you think about the? The hats are piled to heaven in this movie. I think there's a lot going on in this movie.
Yeah.
And there is I think, intense suggestion or a strong suggestion that Jesus has a brain tumor.
You think so?
Yes.
Really?
All throughout the beginning
because
of his life,
he hears
first
voices,
30 years of his
and
life,
there's pain.
he has pain, hallucinations, and all this.
I didn't get that, but okay.
You know, up to the part where he goes, they're going to do a run on the temple, and he sort of, we see that he sees that he doesn't want to get a bunch of people killed, and he wonders if this is his mission or not, but he also is pretty weak coming out of there. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because he's, but
yeah.
I thought that was sort of there. I don't know if that's in the book.
Okay. I can see it. Like you. Now
Helicopters
you
going crazy out there.
Yeah, I know, right? Makes me feel real safe.
You keep talking. I'm going to look at CCO, see what's going on.
Okay. All right.
See, we gotta go.
Not funny. I mean, Willem Dafoe was great in it. I mean, the performances were great. I should have known. So the other movie, right? Can we talk about that for a minute?
1 minute.
Okay. So it's called The Last Temptation of Christ because as he's getting crucified, this little girl appears. What?
No.
Oh, okay. And says she's his guardian angel, and she... takes him off the cross. And...
I am white, like you and all the other major stars in the film.
Almost all of the speaking roles, if not all of the speaking roles, are white.
Yes, so I'm like, all right, it's fine. It's going to be a PAX Jesus movie. But no, there are a ton of local people. There are Moroccans all over this film.
Yes.
But yet you've got blue-eyed Willem Dafoe and Harvey Keitel.
Who's got red hair.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Judas traditionally has red hair in the Mysterium, surrounded. I don't think we know that in the Bible, though.
Okay.
Say something.
So he has this whole other life. He gets married to Mary Magdalene and has a kid. She gets pregnant, but then God takes her, and that's the worst thing ever. And then the guardian angel is like, your friend Mary, she's pregnant with your child right now, or she's carrying your child or something like that. But she's like, all women are the same. All women are one woman. Blah, 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 blah. That should have been my first clue.
You were fooled by the snapback.
No, I was like, this is clearly the temptation, but I don't know what's going on here. But that should have been my first clue that she was the devil, if not like the third. I don't know.
Well, she wasn't Aslan. And she wasn't the exploding asp, so
right.
She was the fire.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, why is it a lion? It's like, hey, what's going on, Jesus? Oh, Aslan. Well, I'm really hungry.
We have to have.
Can you give me some of that Turkish delight?
Well, we have a creature that is very closely associated with sin, the snake. So then we have to have something that's regal and perhaps noble,
right?
And could maybe tempt him more.
Because they specifically go through. It's symbolically they're going through the 3 temptations of Christ,
right?
Which is like, having whatever he wants, or in this case, love in a family,
yeah,
and then like having dominion over all the kingdoms of the earth, and then having like ultimate power over life and death, or whatever. Yeah, I mean that all checks out. But this is the thing; it's like Scorsese's artistic interpretation of those things that I was interested in.
Yeah,
but there's a ton going on.
Well, you had a good point too. Like very early on, Jesus is talking about the devil, and you mentioned because
there's no devil
established that he's Jewish.
There's no devil in Judaism.
Yes.
That's something else that again. So okay, right. The devil isn't a Jew. We got that. Neither is God, according to Jesus.
Right.
In this movie. So for the flashback, even though it was all cool and all, and playing some b-ball outside of school, skip all the miracles and stuff. Skip the life of Jesus. Start with the crucifixion, cowards. Start with the crucifixion. And then we know where we are, because of course we do. It's the most famous story on earth. Then have the girl appear, and you go, well, this is weird. And then let's see, don't yada, yada, yada Jesus' fake life. This is what people were protesting. If they knew this was just 20 minutes tacked on the end of a film,
right,
that, there's some boobs and butts because it's people, living in that time, would be a pretty good just movie to show in church.
Right.
The TV version of this movie would be the greatest story ever told. But then you have this thing at the end, and I'm like, if you're going to transgress, mother effer.
Make that the whole movie, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and then with the whole movie, you could, maybe we just didn't have... The idea of alternate timelines is so baked into, like, genre fiction now.
Yeah.
In cinema.
Yeah.
But, like, then we could explore, like, the political... And this probably wasn't the book, so you're basing it on the book. But the political ramifications of Jesus not dying and not, what happens then. And they kind of do that because he just goes and, ages 50 years in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. But then we find out that, it's looking bad in
Jerusalem
Israel
is on
still.
fire.
Yeah. But that happens anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then Judas comes in and he's like, traitor!
Yeah.
F217. So to make that the whole movie. And then, like, when you're like, oh, man, things are getting really messed up, then we could snap back and it's like, oh, thank God I'm only being crucified.
Right.
It's like that scene in Top Secret, right? Where he has the nightmare that he can't find his class, and he doesn't have his homework done. And then he wakes up and, like, the Nazis are whipping him and he's like, oh, thank God. Which reminds me, speaking of funny men, why is it okay for... Nobody protests Mel Brooks for doing a scene where he's the waiter at the Last Supper. Oh, you guys want bread and wine? Wine? Okay, I'll get some wines for the table. Like, oh, that's fine. But we're going to protest this movie, I guess.
Maybe because that's just a little part of it.
So there's all this tantalizing stuff in there. The humanity of Jesus, the fact that he is a political leader, although in the Bible he often says... everybody's getting excited about me, but I'm here to fulfill the law. I'm not going to destroy it. Mm-hmm. But also he, does kind of say, I am the way. I'm the law now. He's the original Judge Dredd. So look at, you look at the political, you look at the religious side. Like when he meets John the Baptist, he's not some guy who is taking an offering, and everybody's sitting in pews. Like he is a holy rolling, everybody's dancing, and there's drums, and it's more of an ethnic Judaism than the Christianity that we try to put on that era. Like everybody was just not going to church, and then Jesus is like, "What's up? Go to church and tithe," and we're like, "Oh, I'll get a tithe." Like there was a lot of religions going on back then, and a lot of ways to practice Judaism. I mean, there was the covenant, obviously, but when you think about like hell and heaven. Those concepts don't necessarily exist in Judaism. There are different, we argue about stuff, right? So there's different like interpretations of what the afterlife might be like, but there generally isn't a hell. But all Jesus movies do that, but they kind of immediately try to jam that in a little bit, and it's like, let it play out a little. Like visit other religious leaders, see what they have to say. Get in a fight with some Sadducees or something like that, which he does do eventually. We got like 2 minutes, so let me blow through my notes here.
Okay.
There'll be some good stuff.
I'm sure that there will be.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. Jesus is white. Got it.
Yeah.
He pities men. I thought that was interesting. That's the initial seed of his quest, is that he pities everybody.
Yes.
Irving Kershner, a famous director, directed Empire Strikes Back and a bunch of other stuff, plays Zebedee, the sort of heckler at the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're saying blessed are the peacemakers?" He's got a weird kind of voice. Maybe if I just punch these out, it won't be quite as funny. There's a kind of a colloquial Jesus Christ Superstar, the way kind of version of the Sermon on the Mount, because he's like, so there's a farmer and he throws some seed out. And they're like, what's the farm? What is any of this? And he's like, I'm the farmer. I got the seed. What? And then people are like, so you're saying kill the rich, kill the rich, kill the rich. He's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Judas does hang himself, so maybe not in this alternate timeline, but we don't see that.
No, we don't.
What if we knew that, and not only is it, Jesus, you've got to go back in time and be crucified so this all works out, but also maybe somehow I know that I will betray you and commit suicide out of despair, so he's got to sentence his friend to death to go back in time. That's not funny.
No,
what are you laughing
it's
at?
not funny. I'm sorry.
I like the idea that prophecy influences real world events, because this movie, there are miracles, there is magic or whatever, but it also, there's a lot of prophecy in Isaiah about the Messiah. A lot of Messiah prophecy comes from Isaiah, and he's reading he's like, I was reading Isaiah the other night, and it says, I'm the Lamb of God, and I have to be killed or whatever. And he's like, I think that's me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be killed. And they're like, what are you talking about? Or he goes to John the Baptist, and he's like, what the scriptures say, that the Messiah will come. And he's like, are you the Messiah? He's like, am I? I don't know. I just like the doubt. Yeah, because the doubt is in the Bible. Jesus does, in the garden say that, the Lord, take this cup from me, and on the cross says, why have you forsaken me? And so this guy's a human guy, as well as whatever level of God that you think that he was as well. I'm thinking about the Arians.
What?
Arian, the Arian heresy. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I don't know why you're sighing.
I'm trying to fit 4 years of Bible school into one podcast. All right, that's it. Also, I would say at least Google Assassination 33 AD. If you're not going to watch it, I kind of want to watch that movie for this show, but maybe not. It's a little weird that there's a Peter Gabriel soundtrack, and it goes full Peter Gabriel with the drum solo and everything at the end. I imagine Mary Magdalene just holding up a boombox. Climbing up on Golgotha Hill.
Yeah. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
Choice for the end song.
Peter Gabriel's a real word choice, period. So anyway, that's it. We'll be back. Man, we're going to come back, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's so hot in here. I don't ever want to do this again.
I did think it was an interesting choice, too, how at the end of the film... we
fast. No, we're done.
The film is they make it look like that the film is burning or whatever.
Yeah, I think that was Scorsese, like, please don't kill me, it's only a movie, like when the sort of frames, the tracks from the film come out at the end.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. We'll see you later. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe.